Good evening, everyone. For a while, I'll set up the PowerPoint. Give me 30 seconds. Okay, allow me to share the presentation. Okay, give me thumbs up if you can see the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, thank you. So again, good evening, everyone. I am Neil Brian Digal, and I am tasked to be with you in this uh, final coaching for general education science. So let us start. We are scheduled 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So as much as possible, hopefully we're able to cover the items. Sige, let us start with the first item. Of course, no, you were instructed to choose the best answer. So for number one, which one should be true if Earth's rotation axis did not tilt? Okay, so days and nights would be the same length everywhere on Earth. There would be no hours of darkness on points along the equator. Earth would have no sessions. Seasons. Or each part of the Earth would have the same daily temperature pattern. So the choices: A, descriptions 2 and 4, B, descriptions 3 and 4, letter C, descriptions 4 and 1, or letter D, description 1 and description 3. So what's your answer? Can you chat it in the chat box? To those who are watching us, viewing us in FB, you can also comment your answers. See, what's your answer in this first question? Diba you have answered this already last week? Okay, sige. Miss Teacher Rizalin, B, Sir Kyle, B. Sige, so what's the answer? The correct answer or the best answer is actually for a while medyo naglag yung laptop. So again, no, the best answer is letter D. No? Descriptions 1 and 3. Because as we can remember, no, When we say Earth's rotation, the Earth's tilted axis causes the seasons. Throughout the year, different parts of the Earth receive the sun's most direct rays. So when the North Pole tilts toward the sun, it's summer in the northern hemisphere. And when the South Pole tilts toward the sun, it's winter in the northern hemisphere. So in other words, because of the Earth's axis, rotation on its axis, it causes the changes in the season. So description 1, description 3 is already the should be considered as a correct or best answer. No, take note. No, on the question is somehow very tricky, but you need to remember, no, that the question is trying to ask us or ask you what descriptions, the 4 descriptions below are true if the Earth's rotation did not, no, the keywords here, no, did not tilt. Okay, so ibig sabihin, if the Earth's axis did not tilt, so as mentioned earlier, because of the tilted axis of the Earth, seasons are made. Therefore, if there is no tilt in the rotation of Earth's axis, there can be no season. So description number 3 is correct already. Now, how about description number 1? The spinning of the Earth causes day to turn to night, while the full rotation or the rotation and the revolution of the Earth causes summer to become winter. Combined, in the combination of rotation and revolution, the spinning and the revolution of the Earth causes our daily weather and global climate by affecting wind direction, temperature, ocean currents, and precipitation. Therefore, description number 1 is also true. So the correct answer is letter D. Of course, no, description number 2 is not the best option because it says here no hours of darkness. Of course, there will be hours of darkness because again of the rotation. No? Some parts of the Earth will be exposed to darkness. Some parts of the Earth will be directly hit by the sun's rays. And of course, description number 4 is not also valid because it says here would have the same daily temperature. This is false because again, due to the rotation of the Earth, the temperature, climate, no, weather pattern is also affected. So again, the correct answer is letter D, descriptions 1 and 3. Okay. Let us now proceed to the second question. Sedimentary rocks are formed by the processes of compaction and so we are now in earth science. No? Sedimentary rocks are formed by the processes of compaction and blank. What's your answer? What have you answered last week? Please type your answers. Okay. You have the same answer. So the best answer is letter A, cementation. Partner talaga yung compaction and cementation in the formation of sedimentary rocks. If you can recall, sedimentary rocks, no, they are termed sedimentary rocks because they are its origin is the sediment, no, sediments that were compacted and pressed down. So sedimentary rocks are formed from deposits of pre-existing rocks or pieces of one's living organism that accumulate on Earth's surface. If sediment is buried deeply, it becomes compacted and cemented, forming sedimentary rock. So compaction and cementation. So that's sedimentary rock. Okay, let's proceed to number 3. Which of the following facts support the Big Bang theory's explanation of the creation of the universe? What's your answer? Which of the following supports the Big Bang theory? How about the others? Only teacher Rizalin, Ma'am Rizalin? Okay, let's proceed to the correct answer. It's actually letter C. The universe will have background radiation, or in other terms, cosmic heating, or microwave background. No? So the Big Bang theory is the leading explanation about how the universe began. At its simplest, it says the universe as we know it started with an infinitely hot, infinitely dense singularity, then inflated first at an imaginable speed and then at more measurable rate over the next 13.8 billion years to the cosmos that we know today. Because current instruments don't allow astronomers to literally peer back at Earth at the universe's birth, much of what we understand about the Big Bang theory comes from the mathematical formulas and models. Astronomers can, however, see the echo of the expansion through the phenomenon known as the cosmic microwave background, or in other terms, the radiation, no? Cosmic radiation, no? The microwave, no? Radiation. When we talk about the Big Bang theory, the keywords of the Big Bang theory, no, from the term itself, Big Bang. No? There's a Big Bang, meaning there's big explosion. No? And when we talk also about Big Bang theory, there is also the cosmic radiation or cosmic microwave background. Okay, so in other words, the Big Bang theory, no, in the choices earlier, letter A is not the best option because in the Big Bang theory, it says there's an expansion. No? Expansion. Letter B is not also the best option because similar lang siya sa option A. No? It tells us that there is seldom or does not expand. The Big Bang theory is telling us that there is expansion, no, of the universe. That is why ang sabi nga, it started with the Big Bang, no? That Big Bang, and then it expand and expand on what we have today, no? According to that theory. And of course, the letter D also is not the best option to consider, no? Because the theory states that it started with an explosion. Although scientists cannot still explain what caused that explosion or how or what made it um, explode. No? But still, technically, it still has a beginning, no? Because of that explosion. So letter D is not the best option. So the best option is letter C because it talks about radiation. Because of that explosion, of course, it gives birth also to the radiation, cosmic radiation. Okay, number 4. What is your answer? This question is very tricky. No? What was your answer last time? You can chat in the chat box. You can type in the chat box. Okay. Thank you, Sir Kyle. No? How about the others? So, this question is, again, very tricky, but you need to choose the best, no? As mentioned, no? Capitalized best example of self-preservation. When we talk about self-preservation, it's an instinct, di ba? An instinct to act in your own best interest to protect yourself and ensure survival. So how? Let's try to eliminate, no? In answering also in the let, no? You try to do elimination. No? You try to eliminate the least possible best answer. So let us try to eliminate, no? Sige, let's start with letter A, as some of you answered letter A. Sige, mouse runs when it sees a cat. Okay. Letter B, a dog barks when it sees its owner. Letter C, a young man decides to quit smoking. Letter D, a salmon swims back to the place of its birth to lay eggs. Now, if you just scan the options, no, you can eliminate already, no, because the question is telling us to choose the best example of self-preservation. So we can already eliminate option B, right? Because it doesn't best represent self-preservation. A dog barks when it sees its owner. So somehow vague, no? Vague kasi yung there are many interpretations while why the dog barks. It can be friendly na barking, no? So very vague. So we can eliminate letter B. And also letter D. No, we can immediately eliminate letter D. Salmon swims back to the place of its birth to lay eggs. So we have now two options left, letter A or letter C. No, letter A or letter C. So what's the best example of self-preservation? Most of you answered letter A, but the correct answer or the best answer is actually letter C. A young man decides to quit smoking. So, bakit, no? Why is it the letter C is the best example of self-preservation? Again, as mentioned, the question is somehow very tricky, but you need to really be critical. Uh, letter A says, mouse runs when it sees a cat. No? mouse runs when it sees a cat, the term, no, runs doesn't automatically mean, or it doesn't stated here explicitly that the mouse will run away or run towards the cat, no. So somehow the statement of option A is somehow vague, or it can be debatable siya, no, because where does the mouse run, no? Is it towards or away from the cat, no? Of course the mouse can run, no, it has feet, so it can run, but the tricky part is to which way the mouse run. Is it away from the cat or towards the cat? So in other words, medyo hindi convincing kung letter A ang ating pipiliin. Whereas in letter C, we can be sure that when a young man decides to quit smoking, it can preserve his own life, no? Because as we all know, scientific studies have found out that smoking really would cause illness, no? A lot of serious illness that would lead to death or shorten one's lifespan. So that is why letter C is the best answer. Okay? Do you get it? Thumbs up, react if you get it. Again, no, letter A is somehow vague, and it can be it has loopholes, no? Or however, in letter C, we can be sure, no, that when one quits smoking, he or she will expand or extend his life or her life. Of course, no, excluding other factors. So that is why, again, the best option is letter C. Okay. If you have questions, clarifications, you may you may type in the chat box. Sige, let us proceed. So, yun talaga, no? When you encounter questions, no, in the let, read it carefully, no? And your critical thinking skill is really tested. Sige, we are now in item number in item 5. Which of the following organelles is not present in all cells? What is your answer? Or what was your answer last time? Okay, thank you, Sir Kyle. How about Ma'am Rizalyn? Okay, the same with Sir Kyle. Sige. So, notice, no? The question is asking us to look for an organelle that is that is not present in all types of cells. Diba? We have two types of cell, if you can remember. Prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Two types of cells. So the correct answer is actually letter C, and you are correct. Letter C, membrane-bound nucleus. So as I mentioned, there are two types of cells, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. So the primary distinction between these two types of organisms is that two types of cells, eukaryotic cells have membrane-bound nucleus, while prokaryotic cells do not. The nucleus is where eukaryotes store their genetic information. So if you can recall, no, this is the general comparison between prokaryotes and eukaryotes, or prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. So the nucleus is present in the eukaryotic cell, absent in the prokaryotic cell. Membrane-bound organelle, so it includes the nucleus. That's one of the options in the question. So it's absent in the prokaryotic cell, present in the eukaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cell, unicellular, while eukaryotic cell, mostly multicellular, but some unicellular. In terms of size, no, of course, the eukaryotic cell, because of it is more complex, so it has also it is also larger in size. The DNA form is linear. Examples of eukaryotic cells, we have animals, plants, fungi, protists. And the kingdom under prokaryotes, we have bacteria and archaea. Okay, so we go back to the question. Cell membrane is present in both, no? Both type of cell, prokaryotic or eukaryotic. No? Mitochondrion or mitochondria, the plural of mitochondrion, it's also present in both type of cell. Also the ribosome. So what separates the two is really the membrane-bound organelles. And so the best or the correct answer here is letter C, because this is not common to the two types of cells. Only the eukaryotic cell has its organelles are membrane bounded. Okay, let us proceed to number 6. Which location should have most nearly 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness during December? A town that is located blank. What was your answer last time? Most nearly, no? So the question is most nearly. No? It doesn't say na exactly 12 hours, but most nearly. Okay, the best answer is letter B, no, close to the equator. Because of course, no, as you remember, the equator is divides the earth. No? It's in the center or in the middle, no? The equator that divides the north and south poles. The biggest difference between equinox and the solstice is that solstice is the point during the Earth's orbit around the sun at which the sun is at its greatest distance from the equator, while the equinox, it's at the closest distance from the equator. So during winter solstice, no, the tilt, no, here, this one, the tilt of the earth, no, is in 23 degrees. That is why the sun's rays would really hit the equator, no? And the 12 hours, the question is 12 hours daylight, 12 hours darkness, almost or nearly 12 hours of darkness and 12 hours of daylight is most probably observed or experienced. No? So just take a look at the picture. No? This one, no? This is winter solstice, December 21 to 22. No? So the daylight and the darkness, no? As compared to others. No? Tingnan po ninyo yung darkness at yung side na darkness at saka yung side na may light. No? So in the December, so the part, no, or the location that most probably would experience near 12 hours of daylight and near 12 hours of darkness is those locations near the equator. The Earth is positioned in its orbit so that the sun stays below the North Pole horizon as seen from the 23.5 degrees south of the equator. At the imaginary line encircling the globe known as the Tropic of Capricorn, the sun shines directly overhead at noon. This is as far south as the sun ever gets. All locations south of the equator have day lengths greater than 12 hours at the December solstice. Meanwhile, all locations north of the equator have day length less than 12 hours. Okay, we are now in item 7. At which time during the year does the ozone level present a particular health threat in urban areas for people with respiratory problems? Okay. Okay, magkaiba yung answers ninyo. The best answer, or the correct answer here is summer, letter C. Why? Because during summer, no, urban areas, high ozone levels usually occur during warm summer months. Kasi very toxic if there is high ozone level. Typically, ozone levels reach their peak in mid to late afternoon after exhaust fumes from morning rush hour have had time to react in sunlight. A hot, sunny, still day is the perfect environment for the production of ozone pollution. So harmful po yan. So harmful to our health. So that is why it is a health threat. So during summer. Okay. Item 8. Which of the following procedures used by a farmer is not related directly to preventing erosion? Not related directly, no? So you should really be mindful of the terms, no? Not related directly. So what was your answer? So in this item, no, you can eliminate also, no? Which of the following would less likely prevent erosion? Okay? Sige. What was your answer? Okay, Ma'am Rizalyn A, Sir Kyle B. Yeah, yes, no? The correct answer is letter B. Planting more seeds than are necessary to yield a bountiful crop. Okay. So it is not directly related because it doesn't really directly affect If you have bountiful crop, it doesn't necessarily affect the prevention of erosion. No, unlike the other options. So soil erosion reduces the fertility of the soil, which can affect crop yields negatively. It also sends downstream sediment-laden water, which can produce heavy deposits of soil and sediments that prevent the smooth flow of streams and rivers and can eventually lead to flooding. It is more likely to take place again once soil erosion occurs once. So you have the first option, no? Contour farming. Contour farming is a sustainable method of farming where farmers plant crops across the perpendicular against slopes. No? So against slopes, no? Yung slope. So in that way, it would break up the water flow and makes it more difficult for soil erosion to occur. So we cannot choose letter A because it can prevent soil erosion. Terrace farming slows down water so it does not hold much soil. Of course, pag may flow ng water, no, it makes the soil soft. So it would be much prone to erosion kasi soft na yung soil because of the water, no, flowing with it or in it. Terrace farming slows down the water so it does not hold as much soil when the speed of the water slows down. This slows down erosion and helps to preserve topsoil in place. So we cannot choose terrace farming. Strip cropping is a farming method that involves cultivating a field divided into long, narrow strips that are alternated in a pattern of crop rotation. So, alternation of crops. Fields are set with soil conserving methods such as hay and alternate strips with an erodible cropping method such as corn or soybeans. It is used when a slope is too steep or when soil erosion is not stopped by any alternative process. So, strip cropping can also prevent soil erosion. Okay, so let us proceed to item 9. A gas is heated in a closed container. Which of the following is not likely to happen? The answer is letter A. The best answer is letter A. It is not likely to happen that the volume of gas will increase if if gas is heated in a closed container. No, hindi naman mag-i-increase ang volume ng gas. No, if you can remember, when gas is heated in a closed container, the speed of the gas molecules also increases. The increased speed implies an increased collision between the gas molecules. So the kinetic molecular theory, heat as heat increases, as heat increases, pressure also increases, and the kinetic energy also increases. Of course, no, if there is, di ba, if you can recall, kinetic energy is an energy in motion, so meaning movement. So if there is heat, the speed of gas molecules will also increase, no, its kinetic energy. So of course, if there's an increase in speed or movement, letter C is there's average speed of the average speed of the molecules will increase, and the gas molecules, of course, kasi nga nag-increase yung speed nila, so most likely the molecules of the gas would hit the walls of the container more often kasi nga bumilis yung movement nila, bumilis yung average speed of molecules due to the increase in temperature. And so that is why letter D is also the most likely to happen. And of course, letter B also. As I mentioned earlier, temperature increases, the pressure also, as the temperature increases, the pressure also increases. So, ano dito, alin dito ang not likely to happen? Of course, letter A. It will not increase the volume of the gas. So, letter A. So as I mentioned earlier, when you heat a gas, both its vapor pressure and volume, it increases. The gas becomes more energetic. Energetic. Item 10, which one explains why oxygen gas is the largest component of Earth's crust? What's your answer? What was your answer last time? Okay, letter D, letter C. Sige. The correct answer is letter C. Oxygen is capable of combining with most of the elements in the Earth's crust. That is why it is the largest component of Earth's crust. Oxygen is the most abundant element in the Earth's crust at 461,000 parts per million. This means it takes up roughly 46% of Earth's crust. Oxygen is an element which is highly reactive and also easily combines with other elements. Because of this, oxygen is found in a large number of common compounds, both on Earth and in the crust. In the Earth's crust, there is a great deal of silicates, no, which is formed from silicon and oxygen. So again, that is why oxygen is very abundant element in the Earth's crust because it can combine readily and easily with other compounds or elements. The other options, although they are true, no? But yes, true sila, no? However, it doesn't answer the question directly. No, the reason why is it the largest component, no? Yes, it's true, oxygen is needed to sustain all life on Earth. But the question is, which one explains why? No? Bakit yung oxygen gas daw is the largest component of our Earth's crust? So bakit? So that is why when you answer when you encounter questions in the LET, no, that that is why they are also saying, no, the options are all true. However, it should be connection here is which one explains bakit, no, why oxygen gas is the largest component in of the Earth's crust, no? So hindi naman tinanong dito what's the reason, no, why oxygen is abundant, no? Is this or it doesn't relate to the question if you answer letter D, needed to sustain all life on Earth. Okay? And also option B, no? Oxygen is the most abundant element in the world. Oxygen gives Earth's crust its lightness, no? So talagang you need to be careful, no? You need to be really attentive and have that critical thinking skill ba. Ano yung question, no? You need to understand the question really first, because in doing so you'll be able also to know what should be the response or the answer. So, importante alam ninyo ano yung tinatanong. So that's very important. Okay? Sige, let us proceed. What is that flap-like structure that prevents the food from going the wrong way during swallowing? So in other words, it serve as like a door, no? Nag-o-open, nagko-close, no? To prevent food. As you all know, iisa lang yung dito daanan ng pagkain at ng air, di ba? But there's a portion that would separate kung saan papunta yung pagkain. Of course, papunta dun sa tiyan, and the air would go sa lungs. So what prevents the food? What serves as the door? No? So the correct answer is actually letter A, no? Epiglottis. No? You need to remember this one. Epiglottis. Sige, let me show you where is the epiglottis through this short video. So let me read this first. No, during breathing, air travels from your mouth and pharynx into the larynx toward your lungs. When you swallow, a flap called the epiglottis moves to block the entrance of food particles into your larynx and lungs. Of course, no, the epiglottis, again, epiglottis serves as the door that would prevent ang pagkain na pumunta sa lungs. No. So epiglottis. Sige, I'll show you a short video.
Highlight structures involved with swallowing. That includes the tongue, teeth, epiglottis, and the tongue. The teeth grind and chop food into tiny pieces, while the glands in the mouth moisten it with saliva. Then the tongue pushes the moistened food
So dito nagkaka
to the back of the throat,
hiwalay,
down into the
air and
stomach,
food.
which leads to the stomach.
Dito,
Let's watch the swallowing process again. First,
to
the
stomach,
tongue
to
pushes
lungs.
the food into the throat. Next, the epiglottis, a small
Dito.
but important flap tissue, folds over the voice box at the top of the windpipe. This keeps food from going down the wrong way. Finally, the esophagus contracts and moves food towards the stomach.
Okay, so there's a somehow a crossroad, no? Yung papunta sa esophagus towards the stomach, and then to another one is the leading the windpipe, leading towards the lungs. So in the crossroad, nandun yung epiglottis. Okay, sige. Item 12, in which kingdom should mold be classified? Mold, no? Saan ba natin usually nakikita yung mold? Sa, 'di ba? Yung sa tinapay usually pag napabayaan, no? Ng matagal. Okay. So, which kingdom? It's letter C, no? Kingdom fungi. Fungi, mushrooms, mold, and the mildew are all examples of organisms in the kingdom fungi. Most fungi are multicellular and consist of many complex cells. So, many years ago, uh, fungi, no, were also considered plants, no, long time ago. But biologists started to see, no, the unique characteristics of fungi, no, na hindi siya really makakategorize under plants, no. Fungi are organisms that biologists once confused with plants. However, unlike plants, fungi cannot make their own food, no? Kasi nga, if you try to look at it, para talaga siyang plant, no? May parang ugat-ugat, no? Parang stem, no? Ganun. But fungi cannot manufacture their own food. Most obtain their food from parts of plants that are decaying in the soil. Kasi most of the fungi are detrivores, no? So they are important part of the recycling of the materials, no, in our ecosystem. They are detrivores, no? They for decaying of living organisms. They help break down the chemical compounds, no, of living organisms and be part of the soil na that. So that's fungi. They have unique physical and chemical genetic traits unlike plants, no, compared to plants. Sorry. For example, another example is aside sa they cannot manufacture their own food, most of them they cannot manufacture their own food. Their cell walls, yes, they have these cell walls also, same with plants, but different component, different structure. So if the cell walls of the plants is composed of cellulose, yung cell wall naman ng fungi are made up of chitin, no? Chitin. So that's another distinction between the two, no? And also, as I mentioned earlier, fungi absorb nutrients from other organisms. Unlike yung plants, they make their own food. Okay, so that because of those two that I mentioned, no, but not limited to that two, it separates fungi from plants. Okay, sige, let's proceed. Which of the following, which area of the brain controls feeling on the left side or of a person's face? What's your answer? Okay. Correct. No? It's letter C, the right parietal lobe. The parietal lobe is primarily responsible for bodily sensations and touch. No, or in other words, the feeling, yung sensation or the feeling. refers the feeling or sensation. The temporal lobe is primarily responsible for hearing and language. The occipital lobe is primarily responsible for vision. Other areas of the cortex act as association areas, responsible for integrating information. So correct na parietal lobe, but which side of the parietal lobe? Is it right or left? Neuroscientists divide for distinct parietal, frontal, temporal, occipital. The parietal lobe is further divided into the left and the right parietal lobes. The right hemisphere controls the left side of the body, and the left half controls the right side of the body. So the correct answer is letter C. No? The left side of the person's face is controlled by the right parietal lobe. Sige, next. Sure. In an experiment, a drop of blue ink is placed on the surface of a glass of water. In a few minutes, the drop of ink is dispersed throughout the water, turning it light blue. The result of the experiment proves that you have different answers, no? DNA. So what's the best answer? It's letter A. So ink and molecules of water are in constant motion. No? That molecules are in constant motion, moving around randomly. No? The Brownian movement. One result of this random motion is diffusion. The net diffusion is the net movement of molecules from an area where there is higher concentration to an area where there is lower concentration. So the ink diffuses in water because of the random motion of water and ink molecules. Kasi constant motion. Parati silang gumagalaw. On a large scale, we don't see the individual molecules moving. No? Instead, we see how dark the ink is at different points in the solution, which actually dictates its concentration. You can see the ink move from areas of higher concentration to those of lower concentration. Kaya nga, if you put an ink in a glass of water, you will notice the ink will further spread, will be further distributed all throughout the glass of water until such a time na yung color ng whole glass of water becomes the color of the ink. So for example, blue yung ink, no? It would in a longer time the whole glass of water will become color blue. So because of the diffusion from high concentration to low concentration. So letter A is the best answer. Sige, next item, 15. What was your answer? So how do we find the probability? So anong gagamitin? We will use the Punnett square. No? So correct answer here is letter letter C, 25% probability. So again, how do we find the probability of the offspring? No? So we can use the Punnett square. But remember that color blindness, no, are passed down only sa X chromosome. No? X chromosome. That is why this is referred as X, no? Link. X link. No? Sex link defect. No? Kasi nga specific lang siya sa X chromosome, 'di ba? We have X chromosome, no? 2X chromosome for female, and then XY chromosome for male. So the color blindness is a sex-linked defect, specifically sa X chromosome. So that is why it is also termed as X-linked defect. So yun, no? Since it's passed down on the X chromosome, red-green color blindness is more common in men. This is because males have only one X chromosome from their mother. And of course, yung female, dalawang X chromosome. So the color blindness is recessive, represented by this one, superscript small letter C, recessive, while normal color vision is dominant. This one, dominant. So represented by superscript capital letter C. So we use the Punnett square here, this one. So in this side, the male or the father, this side, the chromosome of the mother, 2X chromosomes, the male or father, X and Y. So as mentioned, the color blindness is only linked to X chromosome, and it is recessive. So in the question earlier, nag-lag yun a while. Can you still see the PowerPoint? Nag-lag yung laptop. For a while nag-lag yung laptop kasi hina yung connection. Okay, can you now see the presentation? Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Sige, going back. So we will use the Punnett square. So the question is, the father is colorblind. Tapos yung mother is the carrier. Okay? So here. So as mentioned, yung X chromosome that contains recessive, small capital represented by small capital letter C is the color blind na chromosome that would cause color blindness. No? So in the question, yung mother is the carrier and the father is colorblind. So here, no, the father daw is colorblind, therefore yung the father has the recessive, no, in its X chromosome, recessive na colorblind allele. Tapos in the mother, carrier siya. So may recessive din siyang colorblindness na allele. So here, no, if we write it, so father and mother, no, combination nila, of course, no, because of the union of the sperm and egg cell, no, exchange of genetic material. Here, no, so X dominant for color blindness na allele, tapos yung recessive. Dito naman, no, dominant, and then the Y. And then, so meaning this is heterozygous. No? So, not homozygous. Hetero meaning different. No? Different kasi dominant tsaka recessive. So, and in this side, so recessive. So, this is dominant, homozygous. And then here. So, in other words, in this offspring is female colorblind. No? This one. Kasi may recessive siyang allele for color blindness. No? It receives the recessive allele. And ito, male, hindi siya colorblind. No? Normal vision niya because yung X chromosome niya is dominant. No? So, yung allele niya for color blindness is dominant. So, it will not be expressed. It will not, yung color blindness is only sa recessive. And then in this offspring, it receives both the recessive na color blindness allele. So, colorblind, no? Female colorblind. Ito naman, it receives the recessive colorblind allele. So, this is also a male colorblind offspring. So, it really is 25%, no? 25%. 25, 25, 25. Okay, sige, let's proceed. Which of these is not a fruit? What is your answer? Not a fruit. Okay, both answered letter D, and the correct answer is letter D. No, carrot. No, we try to revisit what is fruit. What is a fruit? A fruit is a mature, ripened ovary along with the contents of the ovary. The ovary is the ovule-bearing reproductive structure in the plant flower. So yung fruit is the matured ovary of a plant. Saan makikita yung ovary of the plant? Sa flower. No? So, if we go back to the options, cucumber is a fruit because saan ang galing? No? It comes from the flower. The same with ampalaya. No? It's a fruit because it comes from the flower. No? Di ba puproduce muna ng flower yung ampalaya, and then sooner the flower becomes the fruit itself, no, the ampalaya. And the same with the squash. However, ang yung carrot is not a fruit, no, because it doesn't came from a flower, no. As mentioned, a fruit is a mature ripened ovary, no. Ovule bearing from the ovule bearing reproductive reproductive structure in the plant flower. So yung carrot kasi is a modified taproot, no? Ugat siya, no? Ugat. So modified taproot for storage. Carrots have a root cap, no nodes, and never directly bear leaves or flowers. So root kasi yung carrot. So the correct answer is letter D. Carrot is not a fruit, but it is a root for storage. Okay, proceed to item 17. What is the function of diffusion in the human body? What's your answer? Okay, letter A or letter C. What? Diffusion. Function of diffusion. We have partly talked this one earlier in the previous items. Okay, the correct answer is letter C, allows an even distribution of substances throughout all cells of the body. As mentioned, diffusion is the net movement of molecules from area where there is higher concentration to lower concentration. So this regulation of every interaction with the environment allows cells to maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis is the steady internal state in changing conditions. Okay, next. How about Ma'am Rizalin? Okay, what is the most likely reason for a desert plant to have few or no leaves? No? So this is a adaptation in the environment. Kasi 'di ba so you try to analyze, no? In the desert, of course there is few water, no, sa disyerto. So what adaptation uh, the plant na ginawa, no? So they have few or no leaves. So what was the reason? Or what is the reason? It is letter is it to increase or decrease? No? It is actually to decrease. Letter D, decrease transpiration. What is transpiration? Is the conversion of water from liquid to gas as it passes through plant stomata. The plant stomata is the small opening on the undersides of leaves of vascular plants. The typical plant, including any found in a landscape, absorbs water from the soil through its roots. That the water is then used for metabolic and physiologic functions. The water eventually is released to the atmosphere as a vapor via the plant's stomata. So overall, this uptake of water at the roots, transport of water through the plant tissues, and the release of water vapor by leaves is known as transpiration. So in other words, the release of water vapor in the environment, or to the environment. So unused water evaporates from the leaf surface, as shown in this picture. So yung water from the roots is absorbed, the stem draws the water, distributes it to the parts of the plant for metabolic and physiologic function, and then the unused water evaporates or being released back to the outside, no, the environment. So that's transpiration, no? The process of the uh, release of the water vapor. So that is why plants, no, needed the adaptation na dapat less or decrease. There should be a decrease in transpiration kasi nga walang water sa desert, walang masyadong water sa desert. So the plants need to hold water as much as possible. So by doing that, dapat less or there should be a decrease in transpiration para hindi lalabas o ma-evaporate palabas yung water. Kasi nga needed more water kasi nga they are in the desert. So the correct answer is letter D, to decrease transpiration. Kasi nga transpiration is the process of the release of the water or water vapor from the stomata to the outside or to in the environment. Release siya palabas. So dapat wala masyadong transpiration kasi nga kailangan magpigil. Needed ng plant to hold water as much as possible. So yung stomata is found in the leaves, undersides of the leaves of the plant. So that is why wala masyadong leaves or no leaves yung mga plant na nasa desert. So that's the adaptation. So letter D yung correct answer. Okay, 19. What was your answer in this item? Okay, this item would allow you to recall your understanding, your knowledge, understanding of the scientific method. So this statement is classified as letter C, no? Findings. Findings. Okay, bakit findings? If you can recall, no, the scientific method is a logical and rational order of steps by which scientists come to conclusions about the world around them. The scientific method helps to organize thoughts and procedures so that scientists can be confident in the answers they find. So ito yung mga steps for in the scientific method: observation. You try to observe, no, with the use of the senses. Then after the observation, you have the hypothesis. No, hypothesis is the answer you think you'll find, and the prediction, if your specific belief about the scientific idea, if my hypothesis is true, then I predict we will discover this. And then we do the experiment, no, to verify if to verify the hypothesis. And then the conclusion or the findings, no, the answer that the experiment gives, no, or the conclusion or the findings, no, as one of the choices here, no, the findings. Okay, so of course, the statement is not an experiment. No? Experiment is the process na, no, to find out, to verify the hypothesis, and then it's not also a prediction, but it is already the findings, no? Because as mentioned, discovered that the chemical, no, butyl salide can lower the blood pressure of rats. So this statement is already a finding or conclusion. So tapos na yung experiment. Discovered. Letter C. Okay, next item. What was your answer? Okay. You have different answers. A and D. SARS-CoV. SARS-CoV-2, no? This is we commonly hear or read this one in the news in this time of pandemic. Diba? Or sino dito naka-try na pa-swab test? Ito yung tinitignan, no? Sa mga swab test if you are positive or negative with the SARS-CoV-2. It's an acronym of the virus that ravaging our world today, no? SARS-CoV, severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2, no? SARS-CoV-2. So coronavirus, so it's a virus. So which kingdom? So saan natin i-classify yung virus? May kingdom ba yung virus? Yes, the correct answer is letter C, none. No? None. So far, it is agreed, no? It is one of the most accepted pa, no? So far, accepted that the virus is not a living thing. No? So because and with that, wala siyang kingdom, no? Kasi nga it's widely accepted with the scientific community that the virus is not considered a living thing or a living organism, no? But of course, it is still debatable, no? May mga nagsasabing na viruses should be considered as a living thing. But again, no, as of the moment, the widely accepted fact on the virus is that they are not considered as living thing. Therefore, they do not belong to any kingdom. So, because yung mga supporters na virus is not considered a living thing because it doesn't fall into the category or yung mga properties of life, no? So, yung living things kasi, number one, they are composed of cells with complex and organized structure. And yung virus don't have cells, no? They infect cells, but they do not have cells. And another property of a living thing is they maintain complex structure, internal environment, or homeostasis. The virus doesn't do this, no? Respond to stimuli in their environment, yung living thing, acquire, use materials and energy from the environment and convert them into new forms, reproduce using molecular blueprint of DNA. No? Again, the virus is not capable of doing this, no? To reproduce with with their own kind, no? Yung virus hindi nag-reproduce with their own with the same virus, no? They need cell or they need other cell to reproduce. Kaya nga in this pandemic they need to infect, no? They need to infect other cells para makapag-reproduce. That is why there is transmission of the virus. Kasi yung virus hindi siya nakapag-reproduce on their own. Hindi siya nakakapag-reproduce with their own with other viruses, no? Kailangan niya ng cell. Kaya nga natatransmit from one person to the other kasi of course, no, human beings are composed of cells. So yung virus nagre-reproduce lang by attacking, hijacking the cells of the organism. So, yun, the viruses do not belong to any kingdom. However, the capability to evolve the virus is capable of evolving. But the rest of the properties of life, wala sila dun. Kaya nga, they are not considered living thing as widely accepted by the scientific community. So, letter C. None. Okay, next. What's your answer? So, by the way, i-add ko lang, emphasize ko lang, kaya nga yung virus needed cells, needed to infect others para they can reproduce. They need to infect other cells. That is why yun yung mode of reproduction nila, when the virus is transmitted from one person to the other. So kaya nga yung mga health protocols ng government is to help reduce the transmission. Kaya nga kailangan mag-face mask, kailangan mag-social distancing, kailangan maghugas ng kamay kasi nga para hindi mag-reproduce ang yung virus by infecting the cells of other people, So with that, we need really to follow, the health protocols mandated. And of course, we need to get vaccinated. Kasi yun po yung one of the layers of protection against the virus. Sige, going back to item 21. Okay. You have also varied answers. Which of the following methods can all diabetics control their condition and avoid heart disease and blindness? So take note, specific yung tanong. Control their condition and avoid heart disease and blindness. So take note, avoid heart disease and blindness. So is it letter A, description 1, description 2, or description 3? Description 1, regulating their intake of glucose. 2, increasing the levels of insulin in the body. 3, maintaining a reasonable exercise regimen to keep weight down. So, alin dyan? So, medyo tricky din itong question na to, pero you need to take note, Avoid heart disease and blindness. Yan yung question. So, the best answer here is letter D. 1 and 3, regulate the intake of glucose, That's para makontrol yung condition na diabetes. And para ma-avoid ang heart disease and blindness, you need to maintain reasonable exercise to keep your weight down, because we have this diabetic retinopathy, in which it is the complication of diabetes caused by high blood sugar levels damaging the back of the eye. It can cause blindness if left undiagnosed or untreated. Okay, so letter D po, maintaining exercise, Of course, para po yan to avoid heart disease and blindness. So, medyo tricky yung question, but the question specifically mentioned, control the condition, yung diabetes, and avoid heart disease and blindness. no? And remember, control, no? Control. You have in control. No? Of course, you cannot control unless you will inject more levels of insulin. No? But you cannot naturally increase the levels of insulin in the body if you have diabetes. Okay. Item 22, what term is used to describe the ability to maintain a constant internal environment? Sorry, nakamute pala. The best answer here is letter B, no? Homeostasis. When you say homeostasis, it is the ability of an organism to maintain constant internal environment, no? So, homeostasis, when you say metabolism, it describes the chemical processes that goes on continuously inside your body to keep you alive and your organs functioning normally, such as breathing, repairing cells, digesting food, no? Mga chemical processes that requires energy, that's metabolism. Homeostasis is coined by physician Walter Cannon in his book, The Wisdom of the Body, which describes how the human body maintains, no? So yun, maintain, no? Or steady levels of temperature or other vital conditions such as water levels, salt, sugar levels, protein, water, calcium, oxygen contents of the blood. No? So as described, no, maintain constant, no, or steady. Yung thermoregulation naman is a mechanism by which mammals maintain also, no, maintain, no, medyo tricky siya pero take note that thermoregulation is specific. Ano yung i-maintain niya? The temperature, no? Thermoregulation, the temperature. In other words, thermoregulation is an example of homeostasis. No, it's a type of homeostasis. But the question is constant internal environment, no? So hindi naman sinabi dito na maintain constant temperature. Kung may temperature dito, so the best answer would be thermoregulation. But the question is only describing the ability to maintain constant internal environment. So homeostasis po yung best answer. Yung thermoregulation, it is a type of homeostasis, but specific po siya for temperature. Tapos yung growth and development, growth refers to the increase in mass and size of the body or organs. Typically occurs through multiplication of cells and increase in intracellular substance. Development refers to physiological and functional maturation of the organism. So, of course, hindi po to yung answer, no? Yung growth and development. Basta po may keywords na maintain constant internal environment, homeostasis. Homeostasis. Okay. Next. What's your answer? Which method of reproduction provides for the most variety of offspring? So variety. cloning, sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction, or cellular reproduction. Okay. So your answers are actually correct. No? Sexual reproduction. Of course, no, because of the variety. No? Sexual reproduction is the creation of new organisms by combining the genetic material of two organisms. Of course, no, the combination of the genetic material of the two unique organism, no, yung parent, yung egg cell o yung mother and father, they are two unique organism. Unique na sila both, tapos they combine their genetic material. So of course, yung maki-create na offspring or organism would also be unique. No? So it allows for variety. No? Yun yung keyword here in the question ni most variety. Okay, so sexual reproduction. There are two main processes during sexual reproduction. You have meiosis involving the halving of the number of chromosomes, no? So of course, no, 23 sa human being. A normal human being has 46 chromosomes. So sa meiosis, 23 yung egg cell, 23 chromosomes din yung sperm cell. Para when when the two gametes fuse, no, in the process called fertilization, no, it would restore the original number of chromosomes, and that is 46. Different mutations are continually reshuffled from one generation to the next when different parents combine their unique genomes. This results in an increase of genetic diversity. So meaning more variety. Okay, next. What's your answer, Sir Kyle? Dynamite. Yung dinamita, no? Unlit. Okay, we have letter A, no? Chemical energy. We recall kinetic energy is the energy in moving objects or energy in motion. Potential energy is the stored potential energy to put to future use. So it includes nuclear energy, chemical energy. No? So the chemical energy and nuclear energy is also a type of potential energy. Chemical energy is energy stored in the bonds of chemical compounds, no? Atoms and molecules. So that is why example ng potential energy din itong chemical energy because it is a stored energy, no? In the bonds of chemical compounds. It's released in a chemical reaction, often in a form of heat. This energy that is trapped, yung nuclear naman, trapped inside each atom. Nuclear energy can produce either by fusion or the combining of atoms or fission or splitting of atoms. The fission process is widely used method. So in the options, no, although potential chemical energy is also potential energy, pero specific kasi, no? It's a type of potential energy yung chemical energy, but my chemical energy kasi sa option. So the best answer would be the chemical energy. So if walang chemical energy dito, then the best option would be potential energy. Okay. Sige, next. What's your answer? Take note, no? Take note. Thermostat. Thermostat is different from thermometer. No? Thermometer measures the temperature. Sige, the best answer here is letter A. No? Gas expands to fill the container in which it is held. No? So, bakit same siya, no? Yung thermostat. Thermostat is simply the controls used to regulate temperature in a heating system. You can set a preferred temperature and the thermostat works to keep your room or boiler at this desired level. If the home starts to drop in temperature, the thermostat switches the heating on to warm it up. Thermostat works on the principle of thermal expansion of solid materials. Okay, so in other words, yung thermostat would control the temperature based sa na-set mong desired level. No? So for example, yung thermostat na set mo na sample yung audio. So for example, the thermos you set the thermostat sa ano, 30 degrees Celsius, no? So if ang room bumaba sa 30 degrees Celsius, so the thermostat will automatically operate, no? Para either palamigin or painitin niya yung painitin yung temperature para ma-reach yung 30 degrees Celsius. Okay? So it is not like a thermometer. Yung thermometer magme-measure lang siya. It measures what temperature level, but it doesn't dictate kung ano dapat ang maging temperature, no? Yung thermometer nagme-measure lang siya kung anong temperature level. Pero yung thermostat, kung ano yung desired temperature mo, yan yung gagawin niya sa room. No? If you have set a desired level, so that level will be attained. No? The moment na it would drop or rise beyond or below that desired level, yung thermostat automatically will turn on and it will disseminate or expand sa whole room para ma-reach yung desired temperature level. So letter A po yun, no? Expands, no? To fill the container in which it is held. That is why yung room pag malamig na masyado, yung thermostat mag-on para to make it warmer, no? So it will fill the whole container, the whole room. So letter A po yung correct answer. Okay. So what was your answer in item 20? Okay. You got the correct answer. No? Letter A, zygote. So diploid. No? When you say diploid, cells have two sets of chromosome. No? From the prefix nga di, no? Di, meaning two. So two sets. No? Diploid. Yung haploid, no? Yung para siyang kasing tunog ng half, no? Half. So half, no? Meaning one. Kasi half ng 2 is 1. So, one set of chromosome haploid. No? So, here in this illustration, no, you can see no, in the human being, pag diploid, 46 chromosomes po yan. No? In every cell, aside sa sperm cell or egg cell. No? Yung sperm cell or egg cell, haploid lang po, no? 23 chromosome. Kaya nga, when in the egg cell and sperm cell with fuse, no, through fertilization, the 23 from egg cell, 23 from sperm cell would fuse and becomes a 46 chromosome for a normal human being. So, yun. And after fertilization, the union of sperm and egg cell, no, it becomes 46 chromosome. It becomes now a diploid cell. And it is termed as now the zygote. Okay. Next. Okay, you have same answer. An object at rest remains or maintains its state of rest unless acted upon by a net force because of its, yes, letter B, inertia. So let's recall yung letter A, mass. What is mass? It is the measurement of how much matter is in an object. Mass is a combination of total number of atoms, the density of atoms, and the type of atoms in an object. No, it is not related or it's not affected by gravity yung mass. Tapos, inertia, no? Objects tend to keep on doing what they are doing. In fact, it is the natural tendency of objects to resist changes in their state of motion. This tendency to resist change in their state of motion is described as inertia. No? So, no, similar to this description in item 27, remains rest unless acted by a net force, no? Because of its inertia. Kasi nga, there's the tendency of the object to resist change. Kung they are in motion, so as much as possible, they are still in motion unless there's a force, net force that would stop the motion, no? Or that would slow down, no? Or that would act against or act upon that motion. And if it is at rest, so it will remain at rest unless there is a force that would cause it to move, no? If not, of course, naka-rest pa rin yun because nga of what we call as inertia, tendency to resist change. Yung momentum naman refers to the quantity of motion, so of an object. So it is mass in motion. Energy is the quantitative property that must be transferred to a body or physical system to perform work on the body or to heat it. Energy is defined as the ability to do work, which is the ability to exert force causing displacement of an object. So when you say energy, there is work, there is movement. Okay, next item. Okay, you have answered letter C. And yes, no, the correct answer is potential energy. Yung spring, no? Coiled spring, it is potential energy. No? As you can remember, potential energy is the stored energy of position possessed by an object. Potential energy occurs before an action. So, yung spring, no, kung hindi siya gagalawin, kung hindi siya i-expand or contract, it has a potential energy. Okay. 29. What was your answer? Okay. You answered letter D. Scientists never stop learning. They want to know the whys and the hows of things. What scientific attitude is best shown in the statement? So you should recall, no, the scientific attitude and traits. Is it critical thinking? Is it resourcefulness? So you can also do the elimination. So the question, the statement is never stop learning. No, that's the keyword already. Never stop learning. Want to know the why and the how. So anong attitude yan? No? Or trait? It is, of course, no? It cannot be humility. No? It cannot also be resourcefulness kasi nga you stop learning, never stop learning. So, ang medyo close dito yung critical thinking at saka curiosity. But the best answer that describes the statement is letter D, no? Curiosity, di ba? Never stop learning. No? So, be careful in no, in reading and understanding the statement. So curiosity, no. If you look back with the scientific attitudes, no, you have the honesty, open-mindedness, critical or creative thinking, no. So yung critical thinking, scientists can do critical assessment of results and limitation. This enables a scientist to come up with new concepts, no. So the keyword is to come up with new concepts which lead to discoveries. So of course, yung critical thinking is not best suited is not being described in this statement or in this in this statement. Never stop learning. So of course it is curiosity. No? A scientist is curious about the world. The attitude or quality enables scientists to try to discover more about the things around him. So in other words, never stop learning, as mentioned in the statement. No? To wanting to know the whys and the hows. Kasi nga, they are curious. They want to, or they try to discover more about things that is happening around. So curiosity po. So another attitude is the risk-taking or risk-taker. Tries new ideas even at the risk of failure or criticism. Tapos, the scientific traits, you have objectivity, inventiveness, humility, responsibility, and precision. Yun. Objective, inventive, no? Generate new original ideas. Humility, admitting that he, she can commit errors. He, she recognizes that there can be better ideas. Responsibility, moral, social, personal responsibility, and accountability of a scientist. To all of his works must be observed. And precision, precision meaning there should be a consistency. Okay, last item. What was your answer? No. How about Ma'am Rizalin? So we've heard these terms, no? In this time, no? We've heard pandemic, outbreak, no? We have heard it in the news. But what exactly these terms are? You have varied answers, no? You have C and D. But the correct answer here is letter D, epidemic. It is the spread of a disease affecting many persons at the same time in a small locality, region, or community where the disease is not permanently prevalent is called the epidemic. Kasi the term is, no, the description is small locality, no, region, no, region or community. So epidemic muna. It's not yet pandemic. No, when you say pandemic, just like what happening right now, no, hindi lang siya isang region, hindi lang siya isang country, isang community, but buong mundo, no, global scale. So that's the time it becomes pandemic pag global na. If it reaches more than one region or country, no. So that's pandemic. How about outbreak? An outbreak is merely an increase in the number of cases of a disease. No, an epidemic, infectious disease spreads rapidly a large population. So in other words, yung outbreak medyo smaller scale pa siya compared sa epidemic. No, so hindi pa yung outbreak hindi pa siya aabot sa isang region or community, no? Isang region. It can be maybe in a barangay, no? In a barangay lang. So smaller scale po yung outbreak compared to epidemic. So pag nag-increase yung outbreak, that's the time it becomes epidemic, no? Kasi nga mas lumaki yung scope, yung mas lumaki yung affected area. Mas dumami yung persons na affected. Pag dumating naman sa global level, no, if country na, marami ng countries at the same time na naapektuhan of that disease, that's the time it becomes pandemic, where an infectious disease spreads around the globe. Okay, so that's it for our session tonight. So just few reminders, no? Just first understand the question, no? Look for keywords, no? And again, understand the question, no? What is the question trying to ask you or trying to find, no? Because the key is to understand first the question and then look for the best possible option na hindi siya debatable and then do the elimination. Okay? So, thank you everyone for joining. God bless us all. Good night.